Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, what a crazy world we live in, folks. Is this just, every day is a new experience. You don't know what to expect. But we're very, very fortunate today in that we have a guest, a very special guest. We have as our guest today Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. And I don't want to take any time whatsoever away from him. He's obviously the expert. He's living and breathing in this and trying to keep your community safe. And I wanted to take this opportunity to have him share with you a little bit about what's going on. So welcome, Sheriff Bianco.
Well, thank you very much, Opal. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you here. I'm sure you are very, very busy. Can you give us some insights of where we're at, kind of the stages of where we're at, and if any of this is changing and like that?
Yeah, I think there's so much going on behind the scenes, what really people don't know in the medical world. With our hospital system, with all of our clinics, they're all working together to get ready for a mass influx of patients should that happen. So they really are working unbelievably hard, and we're trying to work with them to make sure if it does get horribly bad that we're not, we may have to manage some type of panic or some type of public crisis. But it's like you said just a few minutes ago, it changes daily, and the plans that we make today, we may have to change them again tomorrow. So we're learning to be very flexible. We're learning that things are changing on a daily, sometimes hourly basis. And it's as far as where we are in this crisis for Riverside County, at least, I think they assumed or they had planned on our apex, on our peak of that curve, if you will, being around the 16th or 17th of this month. Mm-hmm. And I believe we're not reaching the numbers that they thought we were going to reach, which is actually a good thing. And, we don't know what to attribute it to. We're hoping that we can attribute it to people caring a little bit and abiding by the orders that were put into place. Mm-hmm. And what I really want to make clear is the purpose of these orders. The order is not to take away somebody's freedoms or rights or anything like that. The order is to limit people's exposure to each other, to stop or to at least slow down the spread of the virus. And I know people they're in an uproar right now. Some of them want their neighbors arrested, and the other ones want their freedom, and they want to be able to walk their dog, without being stopped by the police. And so we're getting calls from both sides, demanding the exactly opposite. But so we're trying to do our best to just really inform the public, just keep them educated on what we're doing and why we're doing it, and hopefully we don't experience things here in the Inland Empire like they are experiencing on the East Coast, because it's certainly far worse there, and we definitely don't want that here.
Yeah, I look around now. I don't get out much because I am isolated at home doing my work. But when I do get out, I see that for the most part, our public is honoring the instructions and trying to take this seriously. I do want to send out my deepest condolence to your sheriff deputies that you lost. I'll tell you, that's a sobering moment. And when you realize the impact of your servants that are out there truly giving their lives, and my heart just goes out to their families.
Well, thank you very much. It was definitely a shock. It was extremely hard. We lost 2 in the same day, and it shows that this virus is certainly not discriminating. It's right. Any of us can get it. I will say that I believe I wish there was more of a I don't know, like a medical study, if you will, of what happened to us and what happened to our agency, how fast it spread and how it spread, because it really showed us that this virus is spread by people that are not sick.
Right.
And we've how it happened. It's obviously started with our employees, and they spread it amongst each other. They all contracted it while they were healthy.
Wow.
And then during their days off, they all come down with the symptoms. And then 4 or 5 days later, after they all had contact with each other, every single one of them are all sick, and now they're all positive. Wow. And it just really showed us that this is not what we had prepared for.
Yeah.
We had a lot of systems in place within our custody, within our jails, and we were isolating inmates that showed symptoms. We were keeping them away from each other. We thought we were doing a good job, and then what we found out is it's not the sick ones that are transmitting it; it's the healthy ones.
Yeah,
and that's the purpose of this order.
Mm-hmm. I think your point is so well taken, sir, because of the fact that this is unlike anything any of us have ever seen. We're used to the flu. We're used to seeing people coughing and hacking and that kind of thing. But this is a very much of a silent kind of epidemic. And it's hard to cope with because you look around and the sun is shining. You think everything's okay, and you don't see those symptoms. And yet you have to take this very seriously.
Yes, I mean it's we have employees that we've ranged everything from no symptoms at all, but we know they tested positive, and I'm getting a lot of negative feedback on social media saying I'm not being honest with people, and they can't get tested with symptoms. How am I giving out statistics of people that with no symptoms that were tested? So we have to be a little bit more unique than the general public because we're forced to do this every day, and we're forced to come out here and protect the public. And if our whole agency came down with this and everyone's home on a quarantine or everyone's home sick, what's that going to do to this county? I mean, that would be horrible. So what we do is if we know someone is positive and you had contact with them, or as soon as you come down with any type of symptom, we get a test, and we know that test results rather quickly so we can get back to work. And so we have some that we know were exposed, particularly with husbands and wives that work for our department, where the wife was exposed and then took it home and got the husband exposed, and the husband tests positive, but he has absolutely no symptoms. Wow! So we run the gamut from little to no symptom to, unfortunately, all the way to death. So this virus it's a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah, and on top of it, I mean, your men and women, as you know, I work with the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force, which is your organization and your department, and they are absolutely my heroes. Most of them are fathers and mothers, and they put their life on the line for the rest of us. And so by the very nature of their duty, they go out there. And if there's ever a time they need our prayers and our support and our respect, it's right this moment.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, the entire industry, the police, the fire, the nurses, the doctors, the ones that are really having to deal with this 24/7, I tell you, I am unbelievably proud of not just my department, but other departments and our nursing staff for the effort that they're putting into this. And they could call off sick. It would be easy for them to call off sick, but they're going to work every day knowing that that's their job and knowing that that's what they have to do and wanting to help people.
Yes. Well, we have as our guest today Sheriff Chad Bianco of Riverside County Sheriff Department. We're very fortunate that he was able to step away from all of his pressure and responsibility at this time and join us. We are up against that break, so I'm going to ask you to stay with us. We'll be right back, and we'll rejoin the conversation.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton, host of Exploited Crimes and Technology, coming to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Hey, we have a new project we're pursuing in 2019, and I'm going to ask you to put it in your heart to come along with us. We're doing a GoFundMe campaign. That's GoFundMe Million Kids, because we want to make a documentary to educate your child, your grandchild, every child in America for free in school about how the internet works. The latest statistics says that literally 18,000 kids a day are sending sexual photos and 32,000 a day are receiving them. That means that child will be exploited. I know when we talk to kids, they listen, and I want to make a documentary to do that. If you will consider going to GoFundMe at millionkids.org and support our documentary.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton. I'm the host of your show. The show is brought to you by an organization called Million Kids. That is because more than 1 million kids are trafficked each year throughout the world. That is human trafficked. And this organization normally brings you a radio broadcast about how to keep our kids safe from predators. But this particular day, in light of the COVID-19 crisis that is going on, we're very fortunate to have as our guest Sheriff Chad Bianco, the Riverside County Sheriff. And with that, Sheriff Bianco, I'd like to kind of address what can the public do to help here?
Well, ultimately, we have the orders in place by the governor and by our county health officials that are ordering the people to stay at home, to cover your face when you go out into public, and to really just stay at home if at all possible, unless it's an emergency to get medical care or to get food, those types of things. And I really just need to reinforce the importance of the general public doing that. And for the most part, we have gotten compliance and people are doing the right thing. But there still are some that believe this is not serious, that believe it's not going to affect them. And, for those people, I want them to know that maybe it won't, but you could be that person that's bringing that home to your family or home to your neighbors. Mm-hmm. And you certainly don't want that responsibility of causing someone to get this illness, and then it does take their life. The orders from the doctor, they definitely are enforceable. They're not like a law, but they're a health and safety code that is enforceable with civil and punitive punishments and fines. Mm-hmm. And while it is a misdemeanor, and some of there are some cities that are bringing it up to a $10,000 fine, you certainly don't want to be the person that gets that citation or that gets arrested. And I want to make it clear that our law enforcement not only do we not want to do that, we're not actively going out and about and doing that. And so I'm seeing a lot of social media posts about all these people saying that the cops are citing people when they leave Costco and when they leave Walmarts and things like that. That is simply not true. Those are rumors that we need to stop the spread of those. Your law enforcement officials, we have a lot to do. We're still fighting regular crime. We're still doing the things we were doing 2 months ago. As far as it relates to this, we still have reports every day of human trafficking, and so we're still having to follow up on those types of calls for service. And if we have to respond out to calls where businesses are staying open that shouldn't be, or people are having parties at their houses, things like that, it takes away from our ability to do our normal job. So if there's anything that I need to emphasize to people, it's if we all work together and we work together now, we can seriously make this get over with a lot quicker. If we don't, and the virus just keeps spreading and gets bigger, then it's going to cause us more problems in the end. And even as painful as it is to stay home and for a week or 2 weeks or even 3, it really is what needs to be done so we can move on with this and get to the healing process, not only with our bodies but with our economy.
Yes, I agree so much. It's just irresponsible to endanger yourself and your others and loved ones. On the opposite side of that discussion, too, is one of the things I've shared with my audience on this is what a great time for parents to teach kids leadership. Most of our teenagers, they're born after 2000. They haven't seen this kind of crisis in their life. I was giving a bad time to somebody that I remember when we could only buy gas on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and real estate loans were 18%. And all of those are growing experiences. So it's a tremendous opportunity for parents to teach leadership to their kids and teach, civic responsibility. I just think on the negative side, that's important to understand your responsibility. But on the positive side, it's a tremendous opportunity.
Oh, I agree 100%. I've mentioned that several times to people and to groups, in that our kids, no matter what it is, our kids learn from us. And in times of crisis, they need to learn how to handle it responsibly, how to handle it rationally. And panic and anxiety and stress, we teach our kids that. And it's a very good time to be able to explain it to them, to explain responsibility, to how they watch you. They're watching us 24/7, and they see how we do things. And it certainly is a great time to be a good teaching moment.
Yeah, you mentioned the task force, the Human Trafficking Task Force. One of the things that I have done a couple of podcasts on of late is watch your kids on social media. Don't have them going on saying I'm bored or my dad's laid off, that kind of thing, because while they have time on their hands, then the other thing is pedophiles and predators, as they get under stress, they accelerate their fetishes. And so this is another time for families to take a leadership role and talk with their kids about that kind of thing. And the thing that I'm so proud of your organization, and of course the task force, I'm prejudiced, I work with them, they're just fantastic people, but they are still out there. They are still fighting crime, and they're still looking to keep our kids safe. So thank you for that. It's a tough balance in your job. I don't know how you do it.
It is, and since you mentioned that, this with our parents home, usually the parents are gone all the time, and that's how our kids get themselves into trouble with social media. And this is a very good time for you to spend some quality time with your kids and explore what's going on in their head and see what they're doing online and see what what groups they're in, and learn social media. A lot of us, there's no reason for us to know about social media with chat rooms and things like that. If it doesn't involve your job, you don't really know how to do it or what your kids are doing. So this is a great time to explore those things and figure out what's out there and see what your kids are doing when you're at work. And it's all this can do, you spending time with your kids is making you have a better relationship with them.
It could be a real eye opener, quite frankly. Anyway,
oh, yes, it could.
I know. I want to get back now as we close out here. Just one more piece of advice for our public. I so much appreciate the way that you have handled this. You have had a tremendous kind of invasion with the COVID-19 really penetrating your department, and you've been right on the forefront of it. And so with that, we're down to our last couple of 3 minutes. What kind of message would you like to leave with our people about getting through this and getting on with their lives, but protecting each other?
Well, a couple of fronts. For our jail system and for our inmates, I want people to know if you have family members in custody, your family members are being taken care of. We are doing everything we possibly can to not only isolate them from inmates that may be sick, but also if they do come down with this virus, they really do have very good medical care from our health system that's making sure that they're doing well. And I can promise everyone they are. For the public, I really hope that people just really start taking this serious. We need to start covering our faces. We need to stay at home if at all possible. If you're in a high-risk category, and the high-risk categories are underlying health issues that could be heart problems or breathing problems or a history of cancer, even obesity. If you're overweight, you are much more likely to suffer serious consequences from this virus. So you need to take it serious. Shelter at home if you can. Only go out for emergencies. Please don't call 911 to report your neighbor. You can call 211 in certain areas, or you can call the public health line, and they will take your calls about people violating the orders. And the most egregious ones we will certainly go out and address, but we can't. We don't want to put an extra burden of law enforcement to answer these calls for service just because somebody's out for a walk. So. Yeah. I know we can get through it together. I know we can get through it quickly as long as we're all on the same page and we're in it together. And I know the majority of the people are doing a great job at this, and we all just want it over. But I think as long as we keep going and keep our head above water until the end, we'll be fine.
Well, thank you. And thank you to the dedication of each and every one of the people that serve our county and yourself. This is probably the most unique time in my life. It is difficult to be isolated. You were talking about obesity. We were making jokes about the longer I stay isolated, the more I eat. I heard one this week about, oh, good, it's trash day. I know. I heard one this week that said, "Oh, great, it's trash day. I'm so excited. What do I wear?" So it is tough to be isolated. Yeah. I know. And we're all going to have to go on a diet, but it is a great time for self-improvement. Well, in closing, I want to thank you for coming on our show. Thank you for your service. My deepest, just intense, tough time for your organization and losing your officers. We all feel the loss with that and the loss of their families. And we so much appreciate all that you have done for our group, for keeping a level head through this, for being a leader and using the kind of wisdom that we need so that we can keep each other safe, but still keep our community in order and protecting each other. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you very much, Opal. It was my pleasure.
Great. Well, this is Opal Singleton. The show is Exploited Crimes and Technology. We come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Be sure and share this show with anyone you know, and they are archived at millionkids.org. We're up against that break, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced: The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton. We come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, is this just getting crazier and crazier? Does anybody have any idea what to do? What are you doing to entertain yourself, to stay sane? It is a crazy time in our lives where so many of our friends have talked about, what we're doing to maintain our sanity, but more important, to keep our family safe. So we're very fortunate today in that we have a guest, an extraordinary guest. I'm very, very grateful to have him on, especially in light of all the responsibility he carries and the pressures on his time. Our guest today is Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestrin. You want to say hello, Mike?
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, I really want to say how much we appreciate. I know that you're under a lot of pressure at this point, living in the kind of conditions we're in. So thank you so much for taking the time to advise our audience about some of what you're going through, what you see. We're anxious to hear your thoughts on this overall situation. So tell us a little bit, how is this affecting your department?
Well, first of all, I want to say that just like everybody else, I'm personally going through this. I'm staying home and keeping all non-essential contact or non-essential travel to the absolute minimum. In fact, I try not to go out, and my family's not going out for anything other than what is absolutely necessary. And just as a sign of the times, my wife had to cut my hair yesterday, and she actually did a great job. Which I don't know what that means going forward. If I'm going to go back to my barber or what's going to happen. But the DA's office, we're here. Obviously, we're law enforcement, so we're working. But it's interesting because we're using technology. Almost all of our appearances in court are now done remotely using technology, video technology. So our attorneys are coming to work when they have a court hearing, but they're not going to court. They're appearing. We have a virtual courtroom set up here at the DA's office. So really interesting times. All of our attorneys have devices that they take home, and they have access to their cases. So we began going digital here at the DA's office when I took office 5-6 years ago, and so it's really paid dividends. I feel like we got ahead of it a little bit. I'm not saying we were prepared for a pandemic, but we had gotten ahead of the technology part of it, or at least gotten some way down the road, and that's paid dividends.
Yeah, it really is changing our lives. As you know, I have a book out called Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls, but I never could have predicted how quickly our lives would change because of technology. I wanted to throw in there, you're absolutely right about the haircut. People who get their nails done, you're like, oh, there goes my ego. And I understand there's a run on hair dye down at the Rite Aid store. So this really is changing our lives in many, many ways, but especially technically. So that's interesting. So they are still conducting court hearings, though, but they're doing that virtually. Is that right?
That's right. So our courts are in a partial shutdown, and what that means is that we've gotten direction from the Chief Justice, and our courts have followed that direction, that there's a pause on jury trials for 30 days. And then everything else is sort of just being continued. The difference, the one thing that's not being just put over are arraignments, and there's a very important reason for that, and that is that when someone's arrested, typically we have 48 hours to either charge them with a criminal offense or let them go. And that continues. Now the changes have given us a little bit of an extension of time on that, but we're really still trying to get these arraignments done within a day or two, because
Wow.
most people that get arraigned, it's sometimes for minor offenses, they get sent home. So we don't want anybody in our jail that would normally be sent home. So we're still doing arraignments.
Yeah, I so much appreciate what you've just said there, because keeping the society safe in a time like this is also difficult, because it's my experience, having worked in human trafficking for feels like half my life. But anyway, that when the stress gets heavy in the society, then pedophiles and predators and criminals also kind of amp up their anxiety and their obsessions. So I think that it's very, very important that our audience understand you're still committed to, using good judgment, but keeping our society safe.
Oh, absolutely. I told someone the other day that we're still here. The police are still patrolling, and that, they're called first responders for a reason. They're putting their lives on the line, and so as long as they're doing that, we're going to be here doing our job. And the laws of this state or in this country have not been repealed. The criminal laws are still there to keep people safe, and we intend to enforce them, and we're going to enforce them through these orders. Like you said, we're going to use common sense. If there's a certain kind of a case where it's borderline and maybe someone should be sent home, given everything that's going on, we're probably more likely to send them home as opposed to have them wait in the jail, something like that.
Sure. One of the things that I see, and I've talked about several times in my business, is that what you have now is a whole lot of teenagers at home online and time on their hands. And then you have, bad guys, pedophiles and predators kind of amping up their obsession. So some of the shows that I have done and will continue to do during this time is encouraging parents to get involved with their kids when they're online and see what they're doing. It's a great chance to educate themselves when they were too busy before, find out what those apps are all about and share with kids how this works, because you get kids online that are saying things like, I'm bored and my dad's laid off. That's just fodder for a pedophile out there. So, I appreciate the fact that your organization's still absolutely committed to prosecuting crime.
We are, and we're out there. We do cyber crime. We have a cyber crime unit, and that's the majority of what they do is just what you're talking about. There are predators out there online that specifically targeting our kids, and we've got detectives out there looking for them. I wish we had a whole lot more, because the volume of this kind of crime is sometimes overwhelming.
Sure,
but we're still keeping an eye on what's happening across this county.
Yeah, your organization was one of the front runners on it with your SAFE group there, and I'm aware of that because I've worked in this kind of crime now for many years here locally, and you're to be commended that you have done that kind of building of those kinds of departments. And I know from the way this thing's ramped up, there'll never be enough. This thing is between internet crimes against children, which is Homeland Security, and your SAFE group. I mean, it's more than anybody can handle. And I am concerned about what is taking place with so many kids living online. So on the one hand, it's a little nerve-wracking. On the other hand, it's kind of exciting to me, because if we can convince the parents to get involved with what their kids are doing, this is a great time. You're all, pigeonholed at home, so this is a great time to learn how those apps work.
That's right. It's interesting too. I've got kids at home, and we've rediscovered board games at home.
Really? Cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the rest of the country realizes that that we can do some other things other than just be online all the time. That would be nice.
I think the other thing that, and I talk about this on my radio show, there's so many good uses of the internet that it's a great time to share that with your kids, that there are positive things. I also think that this is a great time to share with the kids about this kind of epidemic that's going on and help them understand what the truth is. I think sometimes a lot of this will get politicized, and we'll probably start to talk about that. We're starting to come up against a break here, and so we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think it's important for teenagers especially to use this time to analyze many of the reporting and understand the impact on other people's lives.
I agree with that 100%.
So we're starting to come up against our break here. We have as our guest today Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestrin. I've worked with Mike since the day he took office. Always admire his work, admire what he's accomplishing here, and he's taking place under very difficult circumstances. So I appreciate him taking the time and coming on and like that. My name is Opal Singleton. This show is brought to you by Million Kids. That is because more than 1 million kids are trafficked each year throughout the world. We are not a million kids, not 1 million kids. We're simply millionkids.org. I hope that you will consider going to our website, keeping yourself educated, and if you're there and you want to, we'd appreciate it if you donate. We're up against that break. We'll be right back.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
Nothing beats the services offered by Strike a Pose in Covina. From weddings, anniversaries, pregnancies, family heritage photos, or professional headshots for business cards and publicity, Jamie and Steve will do your makeup, get the perfect lighting and pose, and edit them so you look your best. These folks are the best in the business. Go online to strikeapose.net and make an appointment today.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton. This show comes to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, folks, we're really lucky to have an amazing radio show like this, to be able to talk out with each and every one of you, to work with AM 590. They're amazing people and contribute greatly to our community of getting you the facts, getting you the truth, and keeping you informed. And along that line, our guest today is Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestrin. Mike and I were talking at the break here. We'd like to have him share with you a little bit about what the county is doing during this very difficult time. Mike, you want to take that on?
Sure. So yesterday, the County of Riverside put out a set of new orders, and they are orders. They're not suggestions. And I want to talk about that for a minute. the county, during a state of emergency, the public health officer has the authority to issue orders during a pandemic or the to stop the spread of a contagious disease. And that's exactly what's happened here. So the county health officer has issued orders, and those orders do carry the force of law, meaning that they can and will be enforced by local law enforcement. So among the things that were in the order yesterday were essentially stay at home, except for essential reasons to leave home, such as going to the grocery store or medical or something like that. The other thing was that everyone, when they leave their home, should wear a mask, and that's gone from a suggestion to an order. And then also to not congregate at all outside of your family, which means, presumably, even a small gathering of individuals is not allowed at this time. So those are the orders. But I want the public to understand, and there's been a lot of confusion or questions or concerns about these orders. I've gotten questions like, are we in a police state now? Is this martial law? And it is not. And I want to explain. The orders do carry the force of law, but they're going to be enforced with common sense. And I know this because I've spoken to the sheriff, I've spoken to my partners in law enforcement, the police chiefs, and without exception, every single law enforcement official in Riverside County wants to do this job in a common sense way. So if a member of the public is out there and they forgot their face mask, you're not going to get arrested and booked into the jail. Someone's probably going to remind you, hey, if you're going to be out, you need to have a face mask on or a facial covering. We're going to use common sense here. Now, obviously, if we have extreme situations, violations where you have like someone that's going to thinks it's a good time to have a concert or something, obviously that's a more serious situation, and we'll respond. Law enforcement will respond appropriately. My office would be willing to file a criminal charge if it was warranted. But the public should not feel that we're out there trying to prosecute people for walking their dog or something like that. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You've got common sense. You got leaders in law enforcement in this county that have common sense. We're going to use that common sense, and otherwise innocent behavior is not suddenly you're not going to find yourself in a jail cell.
I think that's a very important message coming from especially the district attorney, because this is very serious. One of the things I think that the public struggles with, especially like yesterday when it was a good day, it was beautiful, and you look around and go, is this really happening? If you don't have someone who's impacted right in your immediate family, it's hard to understand how important it is. But as you and I both know, this week, we have lost a couple of amazing and dedicated Riverside County Sheriff Deputies, and that is very, very sobering for me, because of course I report to the Sheriff Bianco, and it's just you look at them, they're family men. One had 4 children, one had 3. And they're healthy, and you look at this and you have to sober up and realize this is very serious.
It is serious, and we've got to take it seriously, and people need to stay home and follow these orders. These orders are for people's protection. So this is a case where I think we can accomplish everything that we need to accomplish simply by law enforcement reminding people, hey, these are not suggestions anymore. They're orders. You got to stay home unless it's essential for you to leave. And then when you do leave your home, you need to have facial covering and gloves if you have them, and then wash your hands and keep your social distancing. And so those things are going to get us through this quickly, as opposed to having this linger for months or years.
Yeah, it just it seems like it just kind of changed our lives and it's hard for people to get a grip on it. But what I'm starting to see now, though, is that most people are honoring that and understanding that it's very, very serious. But when you start to see that it really is in Riverside County, I don't remember what the numbers were, but I think it was over 800 and nearly 20 people have passed away. And you look around and realize This is a life-changing event, and one that many of our young people have never seen, and even ourselves. I mean, I was thinking about that on the radio. I've been through when we had to buy gas Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, kind of thing, or the interest rates were 18% to buy a house. But those are not life events where you die. And this kind of thing, perfectly healthy people are struggling with their health. And so I do believe it's appropriate for our governments to take what I think sounds like an educated and certainly an empathetic position of enforcing the law. We need you to do that. And it sounds like your organization's totally committed to that.
We are. I do one piece of good news. I think I just want to echo what you said. I think that a lot of people are confused about, well, what is it really that we need to do, or what are these restrictions? But what I'm hearing from police chiefs and from the sheriff is that we're getting almost 100% compliance, meaning that when a police officer says to someone, or they see a group of people on the street and they say, hey, you need to be inside, you need to go home, or you need to have facial covering, they're not getting resistance. Sometimes people are saying, you're right, we forgot our masks, or, oh, thank you, we're going to do that. So we're getting compliance, meaning, they're not arresting all those people. What they're doing is reminding them what the law is, and then making sure that is followed. And what we're hearing, I think that's a positive thing, that the police chiefs are reporting widespread compliance with these orders.
Yeah. I think it's also a great time to teach your child about leadership and respect for authority. What a tremendous opportunity here to share with your child and make them leaders so that they can prepare for the future.
That's right. Absolutely. I agree with that.
So, well, it's a tough time. It really is. Who would have believed even 4 weeks ago, I was about on the verge to get married, and that's going off, and my little trip to Cancun on a honeymoon is some sort of only a memory at this point, so life is changing, but it also is a time for us all to come together and put our arms around, no, don't touch each other, but give
wave.
each other a virtual hug,
Yeah. Opal, I just want to say to the public, if I have a minute or two, but we are going to get through this. I want everyone to understand that we are going to get through this. I know it's scary. I know sometimes we see things on the news and online, and we have lost some great people, and our hearts go out to everybody who's been affected by this. But as a people, as a community, we're going to get through this time. We just have to keep doing the things that keep us safe, and we're going to come out of it on the other end. We're going to be okay.
Yeah, and I believe that we're going to come out stronger and better people, and it will be an experience that hopefully will really gain character with our children. I do believe that this is an opportunity for them to use this as personal growth. I always tell teenagers, every time you do what's right instead of what's easy, you gain character. And this is a time for our whole society to gain character. We're down to our last minute with you, D.A. Hestrin. Would you like to leave any last words with our audience here? And thank you again so much for coming on. We do appreciate it. We know you're busy.
It's my pleasure. The last thing I'll say is, remember and understand the sacrifices of our first responders. And today I'm going to include in first responders nurses and doctors on the front lines of this pandemic. And they're going to work every day facing real fear and extreme danger. And they're doing it with just incredible bravery. And I think our community, I would ask people to just, be thankful, be grateful for that. And if you get a chance, express that gratitude. It means a lot to the people that do this work.
Boy, would I echo that. Well, you've been a tremendous guest today. We so much appreciate it. I'll let you get back to your tough life there. We've had Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestrin as our guest. Thank you for joining us. You folks stay safe out there. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology, coming to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hey, I want to tell you about one of my heroes, Doris Anderson. She's a realtor over at Remax Realty in Upland. Her phone number, 951-733-8899. Doris has pledged $500 from every house she closes. There's a woman who supports an important cause.